So we already have our answer on the issue of impeachment, and it's not the one I think most people want to hear. 45 Republicans vote with Rand Paul on this procedural motion, essentially calling the trial unconstitutional, including Mitch McConnell. This is over before it even starts. So we didn't even get to the point where you're actually voting on whether or not to impeach Donald Trump, because 45 Republicans are saying even having the trial is unconstitutional. Even having the trial would be a sham. So let's throw it out now. 45 Republicans. Now, listen, to be fair to them, their argument isn't crazy. Their argument is he's not in office anymore, so why are we even wasting our time? I mean, listen, I don't want to agree with the ghouls, the worst people in the fucking country, but I mean, that is a fair point. That's certainly not a crazy thing to say by any stretch of the imagination. But having said that, and here's the part that nobody else is going to talk about, and they should. There's no reason not to do the 14th Amendment now. There's no reason whatsoever. So under the 14th Amendment, if you provide aid and comfort to people who are doing an insurrection, then with a simple majority, you can ban whoever was providing aid and comfort from ever holding elected office again in the United States of America. So for impeachment was always a long shot, and that's why I was telling you guys from the beginning, you'd have to get 16 or 17 Republicans. You're not going to get anywhere near that. Like, what's a best case scenario? 5 Republicans? 4 or 5, something like that? 16 or 17, you're just not going to get it. You're not going to get it. So that was always like mission impossible, and it was always a long shot. But what's not a long shot at all, in fact, what's kind of like a layup is the 14th Amendment. Now, listen, I think you should have done the 14th Amendment immediately, because that's when tensions were at their highest and people were feeling most passionately about the Diet coup attempt. And they didn't do it immediately. But again, now, after it's clear that impeachment beyond failed, I mean, this is just like embarrassingly failing, why would you not do it? So the House should pick it up right away. Simple majority. They'll easily get a simple majority. And then the Senate can pick it up, and you're good with 51 votes. All you have to do is hold Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, and you're good. You're good. And I think you might be able to. Because again, he was providing aid and comfort to people who were attempting an insurrection. I don't even think that's debatable. He was talking out of both sides of his mouth. I do think it's debatable. Like, he wasn't actually like leading the insurrection. That's obvious. But he was talking out of both sides of his mouth. And half the time saying, like, the election's so fraudulent, somebody should do something about this. We should go to the Capitol. He did that. So that is aid and comfort to people trying to overthrow the government, even though it was, a pathetic attempt and they were never going to succeed. That is what it is. So I think you can get to 51 votes. That means he'd never be able to hold office again, which means you end the Trump nightmare for the Republican Party, which is good for the elected Republicans, which actually now makes me come full circle and say, maybe that is why they're not doing it. I don't think they're that smart. I don't think the Democrats have thought this through that much. But yeah, if you were to do that, the result is Mitch McConnell's happier, every establishment Republican is happier, because you've concluded the GOP civil war without them having to actually engage in it. And I think they're going to have to engage in it. Because there's a poll that just came out. 30% of the Republican Party is more interested in the Trump Patriot Party than they are in the Republican Party. But 33% of Republicans would stick with the Republicans over the Patriot Party. So you got 30% versus 33%. That's almost a split perfectly down the middle for some sort of Patriot Party. That doesn't equal 100%. That just occurred to me now, but that's what the poll said. So I don't know. That GOP civil war would be incredibly dirty, would be incredibly messy, would be vicious, and I would love every second of it. So maybe that's why the Democrats, by not banning Trump from running in the future, they're also sort of damning the Republicans to a civil war. But then also what you're doing is you're rolling the dice that if Trump runs in 2024, if he wins the nomination, I mean, if you have like Kamala Harris up against Donald Trump, you actually are risking Trump getting another 4 years. So then again, you go full circle one more time and you say, hey, maybe they should do the 14th Amendment thing. Listen, on the merits, I think they should do the 14th Amendment because he did provide aid and comfort to people attempting an insurrection. Even though it was comical, even though they failed, even though it never had any prayer of succeeding, that's what he did. So on the merits, yeah, you can do it and ban him from ever holding office again and be done with it. But what we know for sure is not only did impeachment fail, it failed terribly and embarrassingly. So listen, in all seriousness, yet again, it was a waste of time. It was. Because you may as well go with the thing that has the same logical consequence and punishment, Trump never being able to hold office again, but all you need is a simple majority, so it's a zillion times easier. So why didn't you do that from the very beginning? So anyway, here we are. Even Mitch McConnell bent the knee. Because you know what? He calculated, I can't take on half of our base. You know, if that number was like 15% of the base, he may have taken on that fight. But he said, I can't take on half of the base. I can't take on half of the base. And the other thing that this shows is he's confident that he can also get the moneyed interest back on his side without waging a war with half of his base, without really trying to behead Trump for the world to see. He thinks I could still get the corporations on my side while also appeasing Trump in a way. And he probably does fear Trump starting a Patriot Party, and so he said, we can't do impeachment because then it makes it even more likely he'll start that Patriot Party. So there's a lot of different factors that weigh in here. But either way, the end result is impeachment, colossal failure. I think they should do the 14th Amendment, but I don't think they're really going to do it.